Radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well, welcome. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and NX Networks. Grace Hobbs. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? All right. I've been waiting for tonight because we welcome very special guest, Roy Thinnes of the Invaders joins us. And also tonight we have a very special co-host. Don Schmitt is here. Incredible. Roy Thinnes and Don Schmitt are with us tonight. Tomorrow night, Elizabeth Hoekstra. Yeah, I've been grounding. Do you know what grounding is? Well, tomorrow night, you're going to find out. I've talked about it a little bit on the show. Grounding. It is absolutely incredible. So tomorrow night, we're going to be talking to Elizabeth about grounding and other things. Because I just spent almost 2 weeks with Elizabeth in Egypt. Not 2 weeks. It was like 12 days, 11 days. It's all a blur now. But Elizabeth is with us tomorrow night. She's got a new book coming out, and I think it releases on Friday. We'll find out tomorrow night. All right, Elizabeth Hoekstra is here. And then Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right, now I can get back to normal. Last night we had the KUNX anniversary special Halloween event. I didn't do any news last night. I didn't do any opening for the show last night. I didn't do any of that. But tonight I'm back to normal. So let's get everything cracking. And let's just go down the list. I'm very excited to be hosting and emceeing once again the Conscious Life Expo this February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton. Tickets went on sale today. You can go to the website, consciouslifeexpo.com, and check everything out. And we have only got 50 seats for the luncheon. All right. Now I'm going to be hosting this luncheon with a bunch of very special guests. And that's it. There are only 50 tickets available. That's it. The room that it's in, the tables, the luncheon, how it's being served, that's it. There isn't any more room. Okay? Now, fade or not, if you're going and you want to go to this luncheon, you better go and get those tickets now. Go to consciouslifeexpo.com. The links are below. The schedule is up. You can see all of the speakers and presenters. And the huge vendor hall and everything else. We'll have our booth there. Same spot that we have it in every year. And also, don't forget Expo's Got Talent, the talent show. Get tickets for that, too. Everything went on sale today. ConsciousLifeExpo.com. And then 2 weeks after that, Saturday, April 1st, 2023, I will be hosting the Parapod Festival at the Hyatt Regency in Valencia, California. This is a live one-day media event. Podcast awards, film awards, media awards. You could submit right now your podcast, your film, your documentary, your series, media, the paranormal, right now. Go to parapodfilmfest.com. Go. You know you want to be accepted, right? And that's how you do it. Parapodfilmfest.com at the Hyatt Regency in Valencia, California. And then a week after that, April 7th through the 14th, 2023, I'll be hosting and presenting on the Hidden Secrets Seminar at Sea Cruise. All right. Now, the links for that are below. I know you want to go on a cruise with me. All right. I know you do. All right, man. I just got done cruising the Nile. And I got to tell you, I like that. I like that ship action. So much fun. And that's going down April 7th through the 14th, 2023. The links for everything that I'm doing now for 2023 are below. I've got a very, very, very busy 2023 in front of me. And this is going to start stacking up. All right. I've got stuff scheduled for every single month next year in 2023. And we're already in November. That's it. November, December, 2023 is here. Okay, so links for everything are below. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. All right, follow me on Twitter right there at JChurchRadio. The Sandbox, hashtag F2B on Twitter. We don't bite, not like the rest of Twitter. Yeah. Any questions or comments during the show, hashtag F2BQ. All right, big announcement today. The Artemis 4 mission. Right now, Artemis 1 is still waiting to launch, okay? But Artemis 4, mission number 4, they've got everything planned. Promises to be a pretty good one. In addition to launching a modified SLS rocket and delivering 2 space station components to lunar orbit, all right? They're building a space station around the moon. NASA will also attempt to land another crew right there on the moon for the second time this decade. 2 lunar missions are now planned, a feat the space agency had previously said, it's not really practical. We can't really pull it off. We can't go up and launch in these 2 components of the space station and put people on the moon at the same time, but they changed their minds. So Artemis 4 will be the second moon landing this decade. Artemis 4 will launch in about 5 years. Well, the meteor that struck Mars last Christmas Eve created a crater 492 feet across and 70 feet deep, sending debris 23 miles away. What is surprising is that the meteor was only 15 and 40 feet in size, between 15 and 40 feet in size, which would easily have burned up in Earth's much thicker atmosphere. The crater exposed boulder-sized chunks of underground ice, found much closer to the Mars equator than ever before. Big news. There's water on Mars. There's water all over Mars. All right, now this story broke a couple of weeks ago, and it's starting to sink in because archaeologists have unearthed the Thor's hammer amulet. Now, it's about this big, right? It's about that big, but it's Thor's hammer. It's really cool. They say it's a one of its kind. That's it in Ysby in southwestern Sweden's Halland province. The hammer was discovered near a future housing development site. Previous excavations at the site uncovered Neolithic and Iron Age artifacts, but this is the first Viking era artifact discovered there. It's also the first Thor's hammer amulet to be discovered in Halland. Not Holland, Halland with an A. Little Thor's hammer. Whoops. Yep. Let's get this show cracking. On this day in history, 1952, the United States detonates the world's first thermonuclear weapon, the hydrogen bomb. They did it on Eniwetok Atoll in the Pacific. Incredible. Russians followed up with their own right after that. Fader fact. In 2011, now, I vetted this. I saw the pictures. I read all of the news press releases on this. This is an incredible story. It's a fader fact. In 2011, after being lost at sea for 33 days, Ewan Burinabwe, 53 years old, finally washed ashore in the Marshall Islands. Then he discovered that his uncle, believed to have drowned at sea about 50 years earlier, had also washed up on the same island and started a family. He still lived there. What? It's the craziest story ever. You got to go look at the pictures. It's Gilligan's Island, but for real. Wrong way, Feldman. All right. How you doing? River Moon Coffee. Tonight, very special guest Roy Thinnis is with us of the Invaders. Joins us with very special guest host tonight, Don Schmitt. Don Schmitt is also with us at the bottom of the hour. Tomorrow night, Elizabeth Hoekstra is here. We're going to be talking about grounding. She's got a new book coming out about grounding. What is grounding? Well, it's changed my life. So we're going to talk about all of that tomorrow night. I'm excited to share this with all of you. And there you go. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. I was texting with Billy Carson yesterday. We were talking about grounding. And I said, man, I found the secret to grounding. It's grounding, but with 1,200 thread count Egyptian cotton sheets. Game changer. I'm telling you right now. Dreams. It's incredible. We'll be talking about all of that tomorrow night with Elizabeth. And again, Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now, I am going to hit this River Moon coffee. Yeah. rivermoonwellness.com. Promo code F2B Blend. Yep. Or you can go to the Amazon store. You can just search Fade to Black Blend coffee right there. Just do it. And it'll pop right up. If you're an Amazon, what do they call it? Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime member, free shipping. There you go. All right. All right, let me hit this coffee. Today, I normally don't talk about this stuff, but today I spoke with Fender guitars. And my good friend Billy over there is one of the department heads. And Billy I've known since we were kids. And the things that we have done. Remember, I told you that story about the Gin Blossoms, and we were in the studio in Tempe. It was one of the craziest moments of my entire life. Billy, who is now at Fender Guitars, back then he worked for the Gin Blossoms. And the Gin Blossoms were recording their second album, I think it was. And they were writing songs for it and doing pre-production. And Billy and I were over at their studio recording them. And we were recording backup vocals. And the reason why I bring this up is because that's who I spoke to today, Billy. So Billy and I, this is 1995, right in there, 96, 95. I'm going 95. And we're in the control room. There's glass in front of us. And, we got the soundboard in front of us and we're recording. And all of a sudden, the entire building shook like an earthquake. It's like, what? We stopped. We were recording, right? We stopped the recorders, and the bass player, I think his name's Bill, he's out there. He's like, what? We go out the door, and this car had crashed into the studio, and we walked outside, and there were bricks everywhere. Drove through a cinder block wall, then hit the wall to the studio. And it was surreal. And I just remember Billy and I walking through the stuff and making sure everybody's okay. The police came and all that stuff. That happened later. But I just looked at Billy and I'm like, dude, every time I'm around you, crazy stuff, man, just crazy stuff. And Billy and I have got a lot of stories. We've known each other for almost 30 years. So today, I was talking to Billy, and they're sending me something. Well, they're sending me a couple of somethings, but I think it's going to be here soon, like maybe this weekend. So on Monday, yeah, I might actually show something off on camera. And I just want to thank Billy right now. Oh, man, he owes me. So anyway, where was I? I just wanted to share that. It's just so funny talking to Billy today, and I just wanted to share that story with you about the car crashing into the Jim Blossom studio in Tempe, Arizona, while we were cutting backup vocals. All right. Tonight, Roy Thinnis is with us of the Invaders. And I have watched both seasons of the original series, The Invaders, countless times. And I, borrowed videotapes. A couple of years ago, I got the DVDs of the remastered versions of it. And before that, it was, available on the internet. And for a minute, it was streaming. And I just was so excited. Went back and rewatched and watched. And I've talked about it so much on this show. And on this program over the years, bringing it up, it's because there was so many groundbreaking moments in the series. It was way, 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 way ahead of its time. And while I was doing UFO research and I'm looking at, old photographs and I'm reading stories and contact events and things like that. And so you go eyewitness testimony. And as you're collecting this kind of information and you're researching, and I mean that, I was fairly young. And then you go and you watch The Invaders. Now, I remember when it first aired, by the way. I didn't quite get the impact. I was a little too young at the time. But it was, you go back after doing research and then you see the opening segment and you see the choice of the craft that these ETs, aliens, are traveling to Earth on. And it reminds you of a few things. Adamski, Hanabu. Yep. You see the bottom of the craft, which has been in a few different photographs, historically speaking, over the years. And so you see that, and then it's the storyline that was the Invaders. And considering where we are right now, today, with UFOs and UAPs, and this is especially for me for the last 10 years, now I look back and I think they got it right. The Invaders got it right. It only lasted for 2 seasons. They got it right. Well, most of it. They didn't get it all right. But it makes me... now, Roy's going to be on with us tonight, and I'm going to ask him. I'm going to do everything I can to avoid being a fanboy. But where did they get the storylines from? It's very and what the Invaders is about, right? ET arrives on Earth. They look like us. They have the ability to fold into society, run corporations, run companies, run towns, run law enforcement, and it's out of your control, and you don't know. You can't necessarily see that they are ET or aliens. I don't want to give anything away. If you haven't seen the series, then go and watch it. But how much of this do we discuss today? Right? And to have in 1967, now in 1967, Betty and Barney Hill, 1961, George Adamski, George Van Tassel, 1950s. Okay. Roswell, 1947, but in 1967, nobody knew about Roswell. Malmstrom Air Force Base, that didn't come out for a few years, and that was just rumors, right? And that didn't really hit the ground running until 1971, 1972, and it never really made it mainstream until recently. So in 1967, what was all of this based on? Was there influence? Where did they get the story from? Where did they get the details from? It was way, way ahead of its time. So with that, I want to share something with you. All right? This is the original opening credits. Have talked about Roy, have talked about the impact of the Invaders. And here's the thing. 2 seasons, 1967 and 1968. What nobody knew, and I'm going to ask Roy about this tonight, nobody knew then about the impact that this TV series would have on pop culture. And here we are, almost 50 years later, still celebrating this show, the cult status that the Invaders has attained over the years, and its impact cannot be measured. Now, Roy's career, you can go to IMDb and you can see everything that he has done. All right, he is a very accomplished actor, but did he know what he was going to do in 1967 and 1968, and what this series would mean to the world? Tonight, we're going to do all of that. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Big night tonight on the show. Tomorrow night, Elizabeth Hoekstra is with us. We're going to be talking about grounding. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back after this short break with our guest, Roy Thinnis. Oh, yeah, and my co-host, Don Schmitt. I'll be right back.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. I'll be the host and MC once again this year for the 2023 Conscious Life Expo, February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This is a 4-day live event featuring hundreds of speakers, exhibitors, and not-to-miss special events. Check this out. Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Deborah King, Daniel Sheehan, George Norrie, David Wolf, Sean Stone, Danny Brinkley, Susan Slaughter, the Leo King, David Palmer, Scott Walter, and another 200 inspirational speakers. Special events include a disclosure lunch with me, Expo's Got Talent, hosted by me, a seance with Susan Slaughter, the George Norrie Forum, and the Leo King is going to DJ at a dance party. Over 200 exhibitors, over 200 speakers. It's the biggest event of the year. Tickets are on sale now at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. For everything you need, info, tickets, schedule, and speakers, please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the UnXNetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the UnXNetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UnX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time.
It's new.
It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer and UnX Networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Roy Thinnis, star of 1967 and 1968 hit TV series, The Invaders. He joins us tonight with a special co-host, Don Schmitt. He will be joining us. Now, a little bit about Roy. His first primetime role was A Fist of Five, an episode of The Untouchables. As a brother of an ex-policeman played by Lee Marvin, later that year he appeared on Gunsmoke in the episode False Front. He appeared on General Hospital from 1963 to 1965, and in 1964 he guested twice on the CBS drama The Reporter. Roy then co-starred on ABC's The Long Hot Summer. But then it happened. 1967 and 1968, Roy starred in The Invaders, a TV series in which he accidentally witnesses the arrival of aliens from another planet. The series became a cult classic, leading to other aliens versus earthlings films and TV shows. Countless. In 2004, TV Guide placed his character, David Vincent, at number 6 on its 25 Greatest Sci-Fi Legends list. Now, to see the complete Roy TV and film list and everything else, just visit his IMDb page. I've got it in the links below. I've got it on social media and also over on our website. But I can't leave out The Sopranos. He was also on The X-Files, Law and Order, and Oz. I would like to welcome, for the first time to Fade to Black, Roy Thinnis. Roy, good evening, young man. How you doing?
Thank you very much. You brought back memories, countless memories, just going down that list.
And, here's the deal, Roy. Okay, first, before I bring in Don Schmitt, I'm going to give you the first time guest disclaimer, okay? Which is this, Roy. It's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go. It's a tradition around here,
Very
Roy.
good.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, I've got, let's bring in Don Schmitt. And hello, Don. Say hi to Roy.
Well, hello again, Roy.
Hi, Don.
I'm so happy you're doing this evening. Thank you.
Now, yeah, and Don's going to co-host because Roy, many years ago on this program, I brought up The Invaders, and Don goes, "Oh, Roy and I go way back." I was like, "What? No way!" And it's been a while putting this in the works, but now tonight it's happening. So welcome, Don is with us, and this is kind of where I want to start off, Roy. Of course, I want to talk about the history of the show and stuff, but did you have any idea in 1967 the impact that the series would have, and that nearly 50 years later we'd still be celebrating it, and you'd be on the air with me tonight?
Thanks to God bless Quinn Martin.
Right.
I made him wait forever for an answer. Would I do The Invaders? And I didn't want to do science fiction because I saw what happened to many people who did movies and science fiction, and they just drifted off into only a science fiction subject. You never saw them in any other kind of film. And I didn't want that to happen. And he called me into the office one day. And he said, "I haven't heard from you." He said, "You don't want to do science fiction, do you?" And I said, "No, sir, I don't." And I'm sitting there looking at two writers, well-known writers, and they have in their laps books that I have read about, UFOs and people who've had the experience. And I'm thinking, wow, that's something. And he said, "I'm not doing science fiction here. I don't want to do science fiction either." He said, "This is going to be a study in paranoia." And I said, "Wow, you got me with that sentence, sir. I'm your man." Yes.
Here's the other, and I want to spend some time on this tonight. the subject of UFOs and what the invaders ultimately became. Did you have an interest in UFOs or ufology before your meeting with Quinn Martin?
It was, yes, it wasn't a deep interest, but I was fascinated by the subject. But I had been told by people who know a lot better than I do that the government has just kind of floored a lot of information about UFOs. And so we don't know what's going on. There's information that I thought would come to the fore because of the invaders. This study in paranoia, as Quinn Martin called it, would eventually open up some of those files that have been hidden for years. Let me tell you about Andy McIntyre. Andrew McIntyre was our cinematographer, and he's another one who convinced me this is where I belong. He was a fighter pilot, a bomber pilot, and he said on all of our forays into various areas, there'd be 8 or 9 planes flying in formation to bomb a certain target. Yet each pilot would call and say, "Do you see what I see over here on the right wing?" And they'd all confirm that they were being followed by discs. They couldn't make out what they were, but it was a formation of discs. And once they dropped the bombs, the discs had disappeared.
Whoa.
Now, they were required by military law to discuss this and write all the reports down, but never discuss it outside. And so for these many years, Andrew McIntyre has carried the secret around with him, and he divulged it to me. And I was deeply impressed. And I knew that we were all, let me tell you this. This is one show where whenever the new script came out, you'd walk onto a set that usually was noisy with, hammering and putting sets up, etc.
Right.
It was utter silence because everyone was reading the new script. They were fascinated by the subject. It was an amazing atmosphere.
Are you surprised about the last 4 or 5 years with the media covering UFOs now, without laughing, and the interest of the Congress, the Senate, the Pentagon, and suddenly UFOs have arrived? Are you surprised when most of us know that and think that they've been here the entire time, but now they're in the news? Is this something that you expected?
I think it's trickling. Information is trickling out of the files to us. There's so much to be discussed about what these things are and who's aboard them and why they're coming here. A couple of books I have read where people have said there are alien bases here on this planet. And they've been shown the bases, and they said that we don't engage with humanity because you're so warlike, that we usually use planet Earth as a stopping station, a way station for supplies to go on to further atmospheres.
Can we stay right there for a second? Let's stay right there. I've often wondered. I have watched the series so many times over the years. I own copies of it and everything else. And now that I know that we're neighbors, I'm going to get you to sign everything. But that's for another time. The storyline, where did this come from? Did you guys have any influence with information out of Washington, D.C., or was this created in Hollywood?
I know nothing about the Washington, D.C. possibilities, but there were Quinn Martin hired the very best writers. He paid the price but got the best. And some of these scripts were really very moving. I believe all the information came from their imaginations and their study of the subject. There are books out there for us to read if we want to learn about UFOs and the experience of people who've made contact. And perhaps that's where some of the information came from.
Yeah, because the invaders got a lot of things right, right? I want to bring in Don Schmitt for a second. Roy, if I can ask you, in 1967, nobody had heard about Roswell. Okay, Roswell happened in 1947, but there was a bearing of the secrets that started in 1947. And in 1967, when the series kicked off, you guys didn't know about Roswell. Don Schmitt and Stanton Friedman and others in 1980, that story broke. But that's something right there, Roy, that would suggest to me that the secrets were kept. But now looking back with Don's work with Roswell, it shows how much the invaders did get right.
Yes.
Don?
And I think we shot a couple of scenes out there near Roswell.
Yeah, in New Mexico. I don't want to get too episode specific, but one of the things, and Don, I know that you appreciate this about the invaders, is Roy's character, David Vincent, is on the road, right? He's on the road and driving through some of these towns, and I always felt that New Mexico was clearly represented. What did you make of that, Don?
Well, very appropriate that the Invaders was in many ways a continuation on the same theme as the previous, hit series, The Fugitive, which Roy had also, guested in one of the final episodes, and just replacing that character as far as in pursuit, but yet also trying to convince a disbelieving world, as the very introduction claimed, of this intrusion, of this invasion, and no one's believing him. That it would be almost into the next season before David Vincent was able to work together with a group called the Believers, others who were aware, who also knew that the invasion was taking place, that the infiltration into our highest levels of society, up to the very Washington itself. And in many ways, those of us within ufology, we relate, we empathize, because that's what we've been doing all these years. It's not only that we're trying to prove they're here, but also dealing with a media that has laughed it off, and the foil hats, right, and you guys are conspiracy nuts, this type of thing. And I think that's why I have loved Roy all these years, because I'm not only a tremendous fan, but the fact that we can sit down and talk shop, we can talk UFOs, and he knows what I'm talking about. It's like he's already been there. He's walked the walk.
Right.
And
yeah,
he continues to inspire me and motivate me to no end. And again, that's why I'm so thrilled that he's with us tonight.
And thank you for that, Don. Roy, just to stay where Don was leading, did this inspire you to jump into the subject?
To jump into what?
To jump into the subject of UFOs and researching.
It's my curiosity about it.
Absolutely.
Well, I told you about Andrew McIntyre and his deeply meaningful description of World War II. I met people in Roswell who are still alive, who were there when it happened, and the military picked up all the evidence and scuffed it off and flew it off. There was a military base nearby, and they were flying this stuff out and putting it in different places. No one knew what happened to the evidence. And there were some particles of the evidence that were still present there, but they were buried. And someone has gone out there and x-rayed the earth. And I said, what about these patches of highway here that are covered in cement? They're huge plats of cement that cover just a short distance on the highways. And I said, have they examined this earth underneath? It's peculiar that somebody put concrete only in patches on this highway. And they said, no, but we're going to suggest that. And I said, man, if I were an alien, that's where I'd bury this stuff, under a patch of cement.
Yeah, no kidding. Roy, have you? Let me get back to this series for a second. In the opening scene, the craft that is represented there it resembles quite a few eyewitness and photographic records of different craft over the years. Where did that design and that inspiration come from?
Well, I presume it came from what you're describing, that there were descriptions by witnesses, real life witnesses, and it was constructed from those descriptions. It was huge. It was an enormous, it was kind of scary to walk onto a lot and see this baby sitting there, because it reminds you of the first scene. Whoa, are there people getting off?
They built so the original craft for the set was full size.
Yes, they of course made it into sections eventually, because they couldn't put the whole thing up in certain areas, because it required a lot of work. So they would include, part of it in a shot. And it made the impression that the whole thing was sitting there. It's a little thing they do in films. You cheat a little bit. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. And when you're around Don, I see you signaling me. See, Don is my co-host, and now. Roy, you can't see him.
Only for tonight, though. Only for tonight.
Only for tonight. Did you have something to add, Don?
Checks in the mail. Well, I wanted Roy to talk about his own sighting that he had before the series even premiered. He was with his wife at that time, actress, producer Lynn Loring, and you were on, I believe, Wilshire Boulevard.
Okay. Now, Don, I'll teach you how to host a show.
Right.
This is how you ask the question. You ready?
Go ahead.
Roy, have you had your own sighting?
Yes, sir.
It's that easy, Don. It's that easy. Roy, tell us.
What was it, Don? Wilshire Boulevard?
Yeah, exactly.
Don remembers everything. I mean, you can tell Don something 20 years ago, and he remembers it to this day.
Yes.
It's an amazing man.
Yes. So what happened?
What happened? It just was it looked like there was only one, but then eventually there was the illusion of being two or maybe three. And they were moving so quickly that you had it was hard to track them between buildings, etc.
Right.
And then they flew off somewhere in the distance and disappeared. So I don't know what that was. And I know there have been so many reports of sightings that were like that. Nobody has any evidence of some of these sightings, many of these sightings. It happened, and there was no camera handy. Nobody had cell phones in those days. So there it went. And it chills you, and you take it with you, and you remember it. And now you start looking for it.
Right.
You start watching stuff. It becomes a major occupation in life, where you stay witness to what might be out there.
Were you able to, if I may, I want to stay right here for a second, because if this was prior to 1967, before the filming of the series, LA was a different world back then. Wilshire Boulevard and what LA was in the mid 60s is not what it is today. And so if you are seeing something in the sky, it's not like the air traffic that we have today, right? And did you go and discuss this with people, or was this something that you kept inside of yourself?
I kept it to myself because I've read so many possibilities. People had sightings and they report them and they get no results. Nobody says anything. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
You don't want to be the crazy. Yeah, you don't want to be the crazy
reports
guy.
Are ignored.
You don't want to be the crazy guy. And then you get to play him in a TV series, right? It's exactly, life is a journey, right? And who would have thought that Quinn Martin would call you in to do a series, and you had your own personal experience of what it's like to be maybe a little paranoid.
Yeah, he never asked me about that. He never brought the subject up. But he was representing the character that I should commit to. And it was studying paranoia, as he put it.
And you don't want it to
you see something, you know something, and how do you convince the rest of the world that this is going on?
Mm-hmm. They always say, give me a little more, the director, right? Channel your De Niro or whatever, reach deeper. You only had to reach inside of yourself. And did you bring that into the role?
Well, sure.
Yeah.
It was there. It was obvious. And some of David Vincent's experiences were more frightening than anything I had ever imagined. And especially when he started to try to inform humanity that this was going on, and discovered that the aliens had human shape. He was dealing with aliens in some cases, and he didn't know it. Police chiefs and executives of companies. And that's horrifying.
And that is horrifying.
Who the hell do you talk to? Pardon me?
It is horrifying. There was, before we get to the break, there was an episode, you pull into this small town and you have a meeting with the head of this company, and it's a smaller, but you go in, and it turns out that the alien base is in town, right? He's an ET. You're dealing with his secretary, and that's part of the paranoia. You now don't know. I'm talking about David Vincent, of course. Who is ET and who isn't? And now who do you go and talk to? That's the exact paranoia that witnesses still talk about today.
Yes. Well, and you can include me in that description, because how do you know who you're talking to if it's a stranger? And how do you know that what you divulge to him or explain to him or describe to him is going to go any further without it turning on you? It creates a kind of a paranoia, and Quinn Martin must have written that dialogue.
Roy, let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Roy Thinnis is with us, star of 1967's The Invaders. My co-host tonight is Don Schmitt. Don, you stay right there. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, Elizabeth Hoekstra is here. We're going to be talking about grounding. And then Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, BX.
I'll be the host and MC once again this year for the 2023 Conscious Life Expo, February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This is a 4-day live event featuring hundreds of speakers, exhibitors, and not-to-miss special events. Check this out. Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Deborah King, Daniel Sheehan, George Norrie, David Wolf, Sean Stone, Danny Brinkley, Susan Slaughter, the Leo King, David Palmer, Scott Walter, and another 200 inspirational speakers. Special events include a disclosure lunch with me, Expo's Got Talent, hosted by me, a seance with Susan Slaughter, the George Norrie Forum, and the Leo King is going to DJ at a dance party. Over 200 exhibitors, over 200 speakers. It's the biggest event of the year. Tickets are on sale now at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. For everything you need, info, tickets, schedule, and speakers, please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can right now get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Ray Hobbs here, repping the X, and you're locked on to Fade to Black with my homie Jimmy Church. Powered by the Fader Dots and the UnXNetwork.com.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Roy Thinnis is with us. Star of the 1967-1968 hit TV series, The Invaders. And also co-hosting with me tonight is Don Schmitt. And Roy, I wanted to ask you, going back to the production of the series, did anything strange happen during the production of the film? You know, any sightings? Did you have any personal experiences? Were the men in black visiting the set? You know, anything strange going on?
No, but your imagination is filled with suspicion and, you know, just playing that role where you're enthralled with it. I will tell you that the second season was the strangest thing that happened when we started having believers. It was from an order from a young group of executives at ABC who told Quinn that they wanted to have more believers and car chases and shootouts. And I said, oh, God, are we going to start this stuff? You know, let's stick with what we have here. It was magnificent, the first season. They ended up asking Quinn Martin to find things for him to smile more. They wanted David Vincent to smile more, maybe laugh. And Quinn went to the network personally, which was not really his position. He usually sent to a producer, an executive. He went there and he said, have you seen the series? Do you know what it's about? What's to laugh about? Mm-hmm. Do you understand what we're doing here? And they said no. They insisted that they wanted to do more of that and cheer it up a bit. He said, oh, God. Anyway, the meeting ended up where he got extremely angry, unlike Quinn Martin. And they canceled the show, and anything he had listed to do for that network. He said, what do you think? It's going to hurt me? He said, I have deals with all networks. I have movie deals with studios around town. Yeah. Anyway, he left.
So,
the show was canceled that week.
The show was canceled that week because Quinn put his foot down.
Exactly.
After the series was canceled, did you have any sightings of your own?
Yeah, over the years, you know, the many years, I've seen things that are strange, things that are describable, but not the kind that you take to the market or take to the law enforcement agencies. And they say, well, that guy from the Invaders just came in and reported a UFO. Mm-hmm. Good luck.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was a sensitive subject. But I did see things that happened that were phenomenal. But
there are
many people have seen them.
Yeah, Roy, there are some out there who would say, and I'm in agreement with this, that the series was canceled because it was maybe exposing too much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The wrong way.
Yeah, the wrong way. Yeah, go ahead, Don.
Yes, that's exactly where I wanted to go with this. First of all, I need to point out that the likes of Steven Spielberg and award-winning science fiction writer Harlan Ellison have credited the Invaders with highly influencing both of their careers. And this was a new concept, the idea that The Invaders was an adult science fiction show, unlike anything heretofore. And as Roy would describe to me, that throughout the course of the series and even years thereafter, he was constantly getting letters from people describing their experiences, their own sightings, but also high-ranking military officers were confiding to Roy about what was really going on.
Roy, can you comment on that?
Yeah, as I said, Andy McIntyre and all of his fellow pilots would see a flight of flying saucers following them into combat. And then they'd have to report it when they landed and never discuss it. Silence. And that's been the policy regarding UFOs from the beginning.
Yes.
See it as
it's maddening that it's so quiet. I mean, what are they protecting?
It's frustrating.
And here we are. Our Earth is in a nightmare stage. Every country is going through turmoil and murders and killings and floods. We've never had a nightmare like these last 3 years. And how are we experiencing it? People are going out and killing people in the markets. Mr. Pelosi got his head bashed in. What the hell is going on? It's like an alien invasion or an alien-inspired invasion. Let everybody screw each other on the Earth, and they'll clean up the whole mess, and we'll have a landing space.
Well, right. Here's the thing with that. There seems to be a lot out there, a lot of people out there that want ET to come and save us from ourselves. Right. And we need to save ourselves first, Roy. And ET, if they're watching this planet right now, why would they want to come here and hang out when we haven't grown up yet?
Exactly. So anyway, my last scene that I hope to do for the Invaders, where I can be on screen smiling, and I say, Maria, I just met a girl named Maria. What do you want? And cut to black and say, good night, folks. The rest of the evening is yours.
Yeah. Fade to black. Here's Don brought up a really good point that the Invaders, certainly the timing of it was great, and what followed after the Invaders. You had things like Lost in Space and Star Trek and Space 1999 and UFO, one of the great TV series, by the way, of all time, UFO, that inspired so much, but the X-Files would not have happened. The X-Files is like the Invaders Part 2. What did you think of the X-Files? And then certainly to be asked to come on and star in a couple of episodes.
Well, I'll tell you, Jimmy, I was working so much, and I say this with joy because I had a beautiful life, that I'd never seen the shows that I filmed. I'm seeing now. I just saw Murder, She Wrote the other night that I hadn't seen in 5 years. Right. I saw episodes of the past series that I'd never seen because I was on a location, early hours on the set, and I missed the show. So I am 50 years later catching up on what I did. And I had very little time to enjoy other people's series and shows. So So you're asking me about a show, what I thought about it, and I didn't watch it.
Well, here's the thing. Don doesn't read his own books either. So, and Roy, I got to tell you, I've done 2,000 episodes on the radio live.
Yeah.
I've never listened to any of them. You know, you just, you know, I'm a working stiff, just like you, right? And
and you've been there, done that. So you're moving on.
Yeah, you just move on.
That's good. That's right.
Yeah, I want to bring up something, Don. I don't want to take you too much by surprise here, but Roy and I were talking before the show, and Roy, if you could, 10 days ago, you got some pretty good news, and can you share that with the audience?
Yes, and I have 5 adult children, and I was with 3 of them when we discussed the decision that I made, and they were behind me whatever way I wanted to go. I was told that I had inoperable cancer. And the cancer was so close to the heart that they couldn't go after it surgically. And a wonderful genius named Natasha Banerjee, MD, who runs the chemotherapy section at Cedars-Sinai here in the Valley. I went to meet with her to tell her that I had such a good life, and if I'm in such a bad condition right now, I would rather just check out. And my children are okay with it. They said, whatever I decide. And she told me that she would like to have the experience. She told me the negatives and the positives of chemotherapy and how she can run it. Now, mind you, I had checked with 3 doctors before I went to see her and asking, what is this Banerjee lady about? And they said, oh, she's a genius. She's a genius. And she had a reputation with everyone I talked to. And she sat there and talked about the negatives and the positives of chemotherapy and said that I will alter it to suit you. If you're having a bad reaction to it, I pull back and I change the chemical formula. But I know what I'm going after. And I said, I think I'd like to try this. And my kids were elated. They thought, oh, very good, very good. And I went through the whole chemotherapy and very little of radiology. And 10 days ago, I was told, well, by Miss Banerjee, Dr. Banerjee, I saw her on screen on my son's computer, and she came on with a beautiful dress, and she was giggling. And just said, I'd never seen her like this. And she said, I have some great news for you. And I said, what's that? And she said, there's no cancer. It's gone. And hurrah, let's begin the celebration. You don't get good news, that good news, often.
No.
And she doesn't give out that kind of news that often. You know, she leads a very tragic life with the bad news that she has to deliver to a lot of patients.
Yeah.
And here she was giggling in a beautiful dress.
Right.
telling me I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been quietly celebrating for 10 days.
And how, Roy, can I ask, how do you feel? Right? I mean, no, hold on. I'm going to change the question. How did you feel 11 days ago? Did you feel different before you got the news? Were you feeling better? And
I was the guy who sat in the garden here at the place where I'm living. And I would recite to myself, I have inoperable cancer and I don't know what I'm going to do.
Wow.
And it was a monologue that was repetitious. And I said, how do I do this? I was I was in a wheelchair at the time because I had a bad reaction to the radiology that she did and insert. But I'm out of the wheelchair now, and I'm using a walker. I have physical exercise with a very good professional from the Ukraine, no less, a beautiful woman, twice a week. And the days that I don't have that, I'm out in the garden. I walk 3 times a day, and I'll be tap dancing before you know it.
That's rock and roll, man. That is just so inspirational. And for the audience, and I'm watching their reactions. And by the way, everybody is they're saying congratulations, like you won something. But you did, right? And,
I did, yes.
Yeah, certainly. And can I ask you, for the audience that is listening, how much does the mind control this? Right, positive attitude. How much does the mind? Of course, you have a great doctor and a great MD and the medical side of it. But the power of the mind, right?
Yeah. Well, and there's the power of the chemistry. Because while you're sitting there with your powerful mind wondering what's going to happen to me, I've done the chemotherapy. That was 2 months of treatment where they pour gallons of stuff in your veins.
Right.
And have I changed? No, I haven't changed. Nothing's changed. And then they gave me the radiology, which was terrible. I was in pain for 138 days.
Oof.
And finally, that ended with the correct drugs to help me. And suddenly I get this call from Dr. Banerjee, and the nightmare has ended. You could hear a choir singing behind all this. It was magnificent.
It's
still magnificent.
Yeah, it is.
10 days later, I'm still. Yeah,
so inspirational. So inspirational. And you said tap dancing, but now you can go back and watch all the stuff that you'd been in over the years too, as well.
Well, I have a friend in New Jersey who calls me, and when she finds things that are on, like she gave me all the dates of Murder, She Wrote, because I had done about 5 episodes, and I was happy to see them because I had no idea. I forgot what characters I had played, and she's a master on the internet, and she finds out about these shows that are playing that I'd never seen. So she calls me every now and then, said, it's going to be on at 5 a.m. Monday morning. I'm sure I get up and watch just to see what I was doing in 1970. And there you go.
Don, go ahead.
Yes, Roy had called me last week, left a message on my phone that he had good news. And I thought maybe he landed some new TV gig or movie, role or something. And then to hear about this. And
this is good news.
It was the best news one can't imagine because Roy has been through a lot through the years. You're talking about someone who originally dreamed of playing Major League Baseball. A Chicago boy that had set a goal of playing with the Chicago Cubs or the Chicago White Sox, that type of thing. And someone in the Invaders who did most of his own stunts. I mean, he was an athletic actor. And then to see him struggle at times when things would happen. And this was the best news I've heard. I mean, and we talked for a good hour when I called him immediately back. And we both shared that elation that talk about a second.
It's not the thing you leave on a message machine.
Right.
You had to hear it from me.
Right. And
hey, Roy.
God love you, Roy. God love you, Roy. Yeah.
Roy, I want to ask you a question. You ready? Jack Brookhouse or Harry Carey? What side of the fence are you on?
Jesus, I don't know what you're talking about.
The announcers for the Cubs in Chicago.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time since I've been in Chicago.
Yeah, I was born in Chicago myself, and and it's just
what part?
I was born at Great Lakes Naval Station.
Oh wow!
Do you know where that is? North of it's in Waukegan.
Close to the state line, right?
Were you on the lake or near the lake?
On the lake. Grew up on the lake, literally on the sand. But
that's a magnificent area.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now let's circle back here for a second. The experience of the Invaders series is canceled, and you move on with your career. But the stories and the coverage of the UFO subject really started to take off, and of course, Don had a big major part in bringing this knowledge out to the masses. How much do you think the government actually knows? Is this just one big massive cover up, and they know a lot, or do you think they're still trying to figure it out on their own?
The first, they know a massive amount, and they don't know how to present it. And I don't think they understand all of it, or how to deal with it, or what to do with it. I mean, you could be a peaceful person. Let's say there's a visitor comes from another planet and says, "Hello, I'm from Yong." "You're from Yong, are you? Well, sit down and let's have a Chinese lunch. And let's get together for an idea session about how we can save the planet from the evaporation of water. We're in trouble with water. We're in trouble with a lot of things here, but we could start with that." Nobody's doing that, it seems. They just fight each other. They fight one another in their own nations. They don't even go out of their nations anymore. They fight with each other all over the place. Here too.
Yeah, you know what's strange? Before we get to the break, Roy, I just spent 10 or 11 days in Egypt. I just got back last week, and here's the thing for me. Going to Egypt, and I went all around the country, right? I flew and rode on a ship and went I toured the country. Anyway, the people of Egypt are awesome. Smiling, the poorest to the rich, everybody is laughing, smiling. I could not believe what I had experienced. And then I get on the plane and I'm flying back to the United States, and I'm thinking, man, I love my country, but we've got it all wrong, right? Egypt seems to have it figured out. They've had 5,000 years to grow up. And here we're not smiling, and I think that the people of the United States should go to Egypt and experience how other people live, and just go and see the world a little bit, and then come back here and see how we treat each other. And I was kind of bummed out coming back, knowing I was dealing with this stuff.
Yep. It's depressing. And I'm all for the plan of getting people to visit Egypt and take a lesson from their behavior.
Yeah.
But, nearby nations to Egypt, they're fighting with each other. I guess today they went to
Let's take our break right here, Roy. We're going to do one more segment, so you just stay right there. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Roy Dennis is with us, along with my co-host, Don Schmitt. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. More with Roy, more with Don after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
Hi, I'm Ray Sobbs, and I'm here to tell you about something I really think you're going to like. The UNX Network is a part of a larger group called UNX Media, and one of the things we offer is the quarterly UNX magazine, which is available both in print and digital formats. This amazing magazine covers all aspects of the unexplained and makes for a great coffee table periodical that is certain to spark enlightening conversations in your living rooms. We invite you to check out the latest digital issue for free. Just go to unxnetwork.com/membership and fill out your free membership with your name and email and become a new free member. The new summer issue is now available, and the theme is Time Anomalies, which includes a feature article written by our managing editor, Lee Spiegel. Just go to unxnetwork.com/memberships. That's unxnetwork.com/memberships and get your free e-copy of the UNX magazine today.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer and UNX Networks. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, Roy Thinnis is with us. And I'm going to say, Roy, it's an honor and a privilege, sir. I just want to extend my thanks to you for this conversation tonight. Absolutely tremendous. But there is a Thinnis in our chat room. And I just said, Roy, I said, are you related to Roy? And she said, no. I mean, what are the odds of another Thinnis being out there?
Where's she from?
She said from Chicago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
She could be a cousin we've never met. That could be my dad was the oldest of 11 boys. And they all had families. I think there were only 5 of them or 6 of them left. But that's a lot of people. And they all had children. And some of them moved to different locations. They were out of the neighborhoods, so I never saw them at the holidays. And I wonder.
Yeah. Thinnis is it's not like the last name Smith, right? it's
right.
It's Thinnis from Chicago, but she says no. So there you go. I don't want to say her name, but now she just said, yes, I am his cousin. Our dads were brothers.
Okay. What's her dad's name?
Well, hold on. There's we're on a time delay, about 6 seconds. So you got to give her a chance to answer. Her name is, should I say her name on the air? Eugene. She said her dad's name is Eugene.
Eugene, Uncle Gene.
Yeah.
Oh, you were just a baby when I saw you.
So this is crazy. Wow.
She has an older brother named Bobby.
Do you have an older brother named Bobby? Her name is Pamela.
Oh,
she said yes, her older brother's name is Bobby. Wow. It's a small...
Yes. Because we used to go out, Uncle Gene and Aunt Patsy, the mother's name is Patsy, lived out in the country. So it was a drive of about 40, 50 miles outside of Chicago. So we seldom saw them, but when we did, the whole family came. Everybody brought their kids, and it was a good time. And Kamala was a baby the last time I was there. That's wild.
It's a small world, and see that's the thing. You know, Roy. Just like you, that you never know who's watching. You never know who's listening. You know, it's a big audience. It's a big world, and the media people do what you know. How many people sent you letters? You know, your friend Murder She
I
Wrote.
get mail from Germany, France, South America, all over the world. The show has played everywhere, The Invaders. And I get letters from people who watched the show when they were children. And they say, I grew up loving you. And they say beautiful things. And I have to write back and say, hello, let's know each other. It's amazing. To this day, I still get mail.
I can only imagine. Oh, Pamela said it was Lake Villa.
Right. Well, but I loved Aunt Patsy, her mother, so she was a dear, and she always made good things to eat.
She said, Carol Kurth is here too.
Oh, I just talked to Carol Kurth 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
How's she feeling? Yeah.
Well, she's in the chat room, so I'll let you know in just a second. Oh, man, this is awesome. Hey, okay, Roy, let me ask you a question because we started to touch upon this before the break. I'm enjoying the family reunion, though. This is pretty cool. Do you think the world is ready to hear the truth about UFOs and ET contact? If disclosure and everything continues like it is, can we handle the truth?
I believe if we could handle the truth, it's a matter of how it's disclosed that might bring all of us together. All of us. We're all related in some distant fashion. And let's love each other, or at least care for each other, and stop the hate. The planet is covered with hate blankets. It's terrible.
Yes. You're right about that, though. We are earthlings, right? We represent the planet Earth. We don't represent countries and religions. We are all earthlings, and we need to accept that. If ET arrives here, what we're going to? I'm an American. I'm German. ET's doesn't care about that. They're here for Earth, right? And we need to understand that. And I don't think we get it. You're right, though. If it's disclosed, maybe it will just bring us together.
Yeah.
Pamela just said,
that would make peace, perhaps, which we have known very little on this planet. And peace would be so comforting to everyone. And it could be profitable. Everybody would enjoy the profit of it. It would be magnificent.
Pamela just said, Patsy lived to 100.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So
it figures because she was not a tough woman, but she was a hearty woman. She was just wonderful. And there was always laughter where Pat was. Patsy, we called her Aunt Patsy.
Yeah, that's what she just said. Aunt Patsy lived to 100. Do you remember going back a few years when Ronald Reagan made that famous speech at the United Nations? When he said that maybe we need an alien invasion, right, to bring us all together. I always felt that Reagan at that time knew something, and he was trying to get it out there.
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. He was like throwing a softball, right, on an underarm pitch to get the world's reaction.
Yeah. Well, if there were more preaching like that, planting the idea of peace in any fashion would be a benefit to all of us.
Are you aware? I know you've been busy the last 6 months or a year, but last year in August, there was a report on UFOs that was presented to Congress, to Capitol Hill, from ODNI, the Defense Intelligence Agency, about UFOs and the current state of things. And then a bill was passed. And part of the bill, it was the budget. And part of the budget was that there was going to be 2 more reports written in 2022, one that was going to be public and one that was going to be classified. It was supposed to be released this week. It was supposed to be released yesterday, Roy. Now they're saying that it should be released, the unclassified version, by this Friday. Why do you think that the government, and I'm talking about the Pentagon, the military, the Senate, all of these intelligence agencies, why are they suddenly our friend when for the last 70 years they've been teasing and ridiculing witnesses? You know what I mean? And suddenly they're acting like they're our buddies right now. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, is that not a sign of the seed of peace coming?
Could be.
That they're relaxing and saying, help. I'll tell you what I know, and I'll need your help. Well, of course we'll help.
Right.
If you're talking peace, I'll sit there forever and listen to what you have to say. We need it.
Yeah, you think it's an olive branch, so to speak?
I sure hope so, Jimmy.
Yeah,
I hope so.
It's an interesting way to look at it. I have another take on it though that I want to suggest. I don't have any secrets. I'm not, but maybe Washington in general, right? Just Washington in general knows that something is going to happen, and they need to get out in front of it. You know what I mean? I don't know what that. Yeah,
something inevitable and interstellar. That's possible. You know, listen, the aliens have been watching us for a long time and trying to figure out how the hell we're going to get along with these people. Even if we want to land here to get supplies and go on to another star, how do we get by with these people without a war or combat or argument?
Yeah, we've always because we shoot first, right? Right. Yeah, we shoot first. Yeah, we shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah.
There was I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to make it really quick. About 10 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, there was a hurricane, a huge, massive tropical storm off of the west coast of India. But out there is an island, and on that island is one of the last cultures that has had no contact with the outside world. And so there are laws in place that you can't visit. No planes or helicopters can fly over the island. They don't want any technology shown to this culture. They want them isolated and left alone. Okay? So, but this hurricane hits, and the Prime Minister of India says, maybe we should do a flyover just to check on them, right? Let's just go and make sure that everybody's okay. So they did.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing.
And you know what happened?
What?
They shot arrows at the helicopters. They didn't even know they'd never seen a helicopter before, but they're throwing spears and shooting arrows at it. It's like, Roy, it's part of our DNA, right? We just shoot first and ask questions later. So if ET arrives here over Los Angeles, we're probably going to shoot at it. I don't think we're going to have welcome wagons.
Island. You know what is it called? What do they call the island?
I'll shoot you an email. I'll give you all the information on it.
It sounds like an alien base that is not an acceptable one. It's like an enemy alien base.
Yeah, right.
They're still using arrows.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to run this thought by you, which is this: there are rumors that the United States Navy knows where this underwater ET base is out in the Atlantic Ocean. They have triangulated it. They've gotten the frequencies down, and they know where these crafts are coming and going from our ocean. Would that surprise you?
No, it wouldn't. It sounds suspicious, and it sounds very military. And what they need is a little advice. Leave flowers around the triangle and maybe a note saying, I'd love to have lunch with you. What do you say?
Do you think you brought up something earlier that ET may need resources, right? Maybe this is like a gas station and water and other things. There have been many sightings over the years of craft over the oceans, going back to the late 1800s, right? There were the great airships were seen with pipes and tubes in rivers in the United States 20 years before the Wright brothers. Do you think that may be what's going on, that ET could hide in the oceans?
Well, sure. If I came from another planet and I flew around planet Earth just to observe behavior, it's chaos on this planet. One country lives in a different way. They dress differently. They have different morals, different laws. Some of them are violent. Others are very peaceful and they keep their peace. What the hell is this? This is humanity I'm dealing with. They don't know the difference between countries, right? A visitor. You just fly 150 miles this way and you're in another country, another behavior, another costume, different customs. What are these people all about? I don't know. I just imagine being an alien visiting this planet, and I would be dumbfounded. I wouldn't know what the hell to do or how to do it.
Well, if you and I, Roy, you, Don, and I, if we jump on a ship and we go to another planet, right, and we're observing them, and we see this tribal effect that they're fighting amongst each other, and they haven't got it figured out. Why would we want to visit that planet? You wouldn't let me. Yeah, exactly. Next, you wouldn't let me land that ship, would you?
No, you'd say it's just like planet Earth.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. What a great conversation tonight, Roy. And I wanted to ask you before we wrap up, the appearances on your career never ended, right? If you know what I mean. It just kept going and going and going and going. if Invaders Part 3, because there was a new version of the Invaders, would you do it if the opportunity came up?
Yeah, you have to read it and know who's going to be associated with it. You know, if everybody is on the same page as far as truth is concerned, sure.
There is there's a new movie out, Jordan Peele's. It's a movie called Nope, Nope, Nope. And check this out. You live in the Valley. I'm in the Valley, right? We talked about this earlier. Nope takes place. It's an alien ET movie. It takes place in Agua Dulce. Agua Dulce, you know, right up the road from where you are right now, right? It's 30 miles away, Agua Dulce.
Yeah.
And it seems to me, Roy, that just like with the Invaders and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and these films that are presented to us, that it seems like somebody's in the know, right? That there is something that is being shown to the public, but it's done through mass media and it's done through entertainment. And I see the movie Nope, and that's exactly what I think is going on. That somebody knows, and the only way to get this out is through film and television, so the masses will understand and get them warmed up to the idea, so they're not surprised when it happens.
It's a way of slowly creeping into everyone's minds and imaginations. Yes. Yeah. I moved into this place here where I live, where it's assisted living, and it's like a hotel, you know. But most of the people, the residents, are aged, anywhere from 75 to 90. And I was here for a few weeks, and I thought, that guy over there with the beard looks like. And I asked questions about him, and they said his name is David Vincent.
Oh, no way. No way.
All he can talk about is UFOs and aliens. And so they keep him drugged, and, they don't pay much attention to him. And I get to know David Vincent, and that's where the story would begin.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I thought so.
Yeah, that's a 15-second elevator pitch, and that one works.
Right.
That one works. Man, Roy, again, thank you so much. And I can't wait for you to come back on the show, and we'll pick one subject and we'll just do the deep dive.
Right. Anytime, Jimmy. I enjoyed this.
It's just tremendous. And again, thank you. And I tried.
And you got my friend Donald there. I don't know if you're going to bring him too.
No, Don's out. Don's out. That's it. He's been fired as a co-host. Hey, Roy, behave and be well, my friend. And I'm going to come visit you. I'm going to bring you some stuff to sign for me. Okay?
Cool. Very good.
Thank you so much, Roy. Behave and be well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. He's gone?
No, he's there. He's waving. He's waving. He can't see you, Don. See, I told you, Roy, he's straight fired. He's straight fired. Hey, Roy, behave.
And my cousin, Pamela, God.
Pamela she just said, this was fun. Sending love from the family. There you go.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
What a great
night.
I
love you, dear.
What a great night.
I held you as a baby. I did.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a small world. I wouldn't want to paint it, but it's pretty small. Thank you so much, Roy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect night on the show. Perfect, absolute perfect night. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll swing back and I'll bring my co-host in. His name is Don Schmitt. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Oh, you know what I You guys saw what I just did. I left Don out of the entire segment. I'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
Ray Hobbs here, repping the X, and you're locked on to Fade to Black with my homie Jimmy Church. Powered by the Fader Dots and the UnXNetwork.com.
I'll be the host and MC once again this year for the 2023 Conscious Life Expo, February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This is a 4-day live event featuring hundreds of speakers, exhibitors, and not-to-miss special events. Check this out. Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Deborah King, Daniel Sheehan, George Norrie, David Wolf, Sean Stone, Danny Brinkley, Susan Slaughter, the Leo King, David Palmer, Scott Walter, and another 200 inspirational speakers. Special events include a disclosure lunch with me, Expo's Got Talent, hosted by me, a seance with Susan Slaughter, the George Norrie Forum, and the Leo King is going to DJ at a dance party. Over 200 exhibitors, over 200 speakers. It's the biggest event of the year. Tickets are on sale now at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. For everything you need, info, tickets, schedule, and speakers, please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Go back, Lee Tappy. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. Couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Yeah, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I had a co-host tonight. Oh, man. Don, here's the thing. I got so wrapped up. I got so sucked into it. I forgot you were there. Has that ever happened to you before?
Sometimes I've had that effect, especially with women, but never with you, Jimmy. So.
Man, I apologize, man. Well, it was so funny when
at least Roy didn't forget about me. He still said goodbye to me. So.
Yeah, when Roy goes, is Don still there?
And I look down. I abandoned him, right?
Yeah, Don's right here. Yeah, no problem. And then I realized I spaced the entire. Oh man, I apologize.
I have to though. Again, thank you, Jimmy, because Roy's not. I mean, he's getting older, and as so many of our friends and those who have passed away, who are no longer with us, and you have to. So often, these people are forgotten. And they still have a lifetime of accumulated wisdom, the knowledge that they have acquired through the years. And we stop asking them questions. We stop treating them as though, they even deserve our respect. And so I tip my hat to you for giving Roy, this opportunity. He doesn't do these any longer. And the fact that when I brought it up to him a number of times, and I said, I know just the person who would love to have you on. And so I personally thank you. Thank you, Jimmy.
Man, and here's the rub. Here's the real truth to all of this. The impact that man has had on so many lives.
Yes.
Right. And I'm just one, right? I'm just one. But I had told you many years ago, I said, we were talking about the Invaders. We weren't talking about Roy. It was you that dropped the bomb on me when you said, Roy and I, we go way back. And I am just one of millions, right?
Imagine arriving at LAX and getting picked up by Roy Thinnis. At the time he was driving his Jaguar, and we're driving through Beverly Hills, and people are recognizing his car, and they're driving by and sticking the extended pinky, which was one of the signs that it was an alien, because they had this mutated fourth finger.
Right.
And that would be the one thing that David Vincent, his character, would typically be on the lookout for, the alien hand, the mutated pinky. And so to see people driving by and just sticking their arm out and with that extended pinky like it was a salute. Thank you, Mr. Thinnis. We respect you for what, that character represented to us. And as we both know, our generation, how many people became motivated and inspired to even get into the field because of that series, because of Roy Thinnis.
Absolutely. Tonight's conversation just it meant so much to me, but I could tell, the audience, they get it, right, and they're just along for the ride. They're hearing, a conversation going down in real time. No questions, nothing is prepared, and that was it. It was tremendous. I want to share something with you really quick. I'm going to pull this up. This was just posted, okay? And when I say just posted, just a few minutes ago. And as everybody knows, I just got back from Egypt, and I posted. I filmed in Luxor,
right?
And I did this. How do I say this? A selfie video of me panning around Luxor at night. And so Mike just posted this, and he said, "Did Jimmy film a UFO in Egypt?" Right? And he posted this screen grab. Check this out. Now, I want you to look right here, right over my shoulder.
Right.
Look at that. What the hell is that? That's from a video. That's not a still image. So I'm going to go back and look at the video now and see what is there. What do you make?
Was it a clear night? Was the moon? It's easy to check. Was there a full moon at the time?
That's the moon right there. Look, Don. That's the moon.
Right.
And this is at night, and then we have this thing right here. Look at that.
And that's exactly what people have been videotaping. I mean, going back to even the Phoenix Lights. The question is, I mean, was there movement involved? That's what you have to go back and check. But it's a cluster of lights. It's triangular in its formation, but nonetheless, I don't think it's Skylink, because there would be many more lights involved.
Yeah, it's low in the horizon. That's Luxor in the background. That's the moon. So I don't know. Maybe it's a star.
Experience you being there, but as we both know, many a time people have been on film and they're out of nowhere. They're not even aware of the fact right over their shoulder something is hovering, or something shoots, through the sky behind them. And what the eye doesn't see, the camera does capture.
Right.
And so look into this, please. I mean, you may, but once again, Jimmy, you're looking in the wrong direction. Right.
It may be a multiple exposure from a star in the background. But you're right, though.
Then why isn't there a multiple, as far as the multiple exposure of the moon? That's right.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's why you're Don Schmitt and I'm just a radio host.
Well, hey, you're a radio host, so thank you.
Don, what do you think is going to happen with this report when it's the unclassified version is released to the public this week? Do you expect any revelations?
I think it's going to be the same type of subterfuge, in that they're going to acknowledge that there remains a percentage of unexplains, but just because they're unexplained, they're going to fall back. But if we had more data, if we had more information, we'd come up with a viable, explanation, that type of thing. It's the same stuck record that we've been listening to for 75 years. NASA, for example, this appointment of this panel, this committee now that's going to look into it. And I pointed out the fact that not a one of these people, even albeit they're scientists, albeit they work with NASA, but not a one of them has a top security clearance with the military. So they will have zero access to any classified documents regarding the subject. So to me, it's like the Condon Report 2, that you essentially get a civilian, organization to look into the subject matter, and then they come up with it, the same type of, well, if we had more information, we might, if we had more funding. They have $100,000 over the course of 9 months. That's nothing,
right?
As far as the government, goes. So I hate the fact that they've been stringing this along. It's going on 5 years. It'll be 5 years in December with the New York Times article. And we all expected something to break by now. Now, it still comes back to, I can't emphasize enough that the ball still remains in the congressional court, that Congress could blow this open overnight by just We're going to have hearings. We're going to grant immunity to whistleblowers. We're going to allow pilots, both military and commercial, to finally step forward. And that's where this could domino, this could snowball into, they're not going to put this genie back in the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I can't encourage your viewers and your listeners enough to put the pressure on their own elected representatives that they need to finally grant immunity. They have to provide a forum for possible whistleblowers to come forward and tell the truth. That's all we're asking. That's all we've ever been asking. Provide a panel, a venue on Capitol Hill that people can just tell the truth about what they've experienced.
The NASA team, it looks good on paper, right? Okay, NASA's going to study UFOs. Okay. And then you read the fine print. And Don, you brought up the best point possible. The lack of security clearances. And then you read the fine print, and it says they're only reviewing unclassified data.
Precisely.
What?
That's like saying we're only going to read about the Roswell mogul balloon. Oh, we're not going to read about the first explanation that it was indeed the crash of a flying saucer, which would remain as highly classified as, they could classify. But we're only going to look at what is accessible, what is available to the general public. And we know what that amounts to. No physical evidence, no testimony of the highest ranking officers, SAC-based officers, pilots again, that are describing beyond our comprehension objects that totally violate the laws of physics, for example. And so again, it's a cursory look. It's why I peek under the cover, I look up, nothing to see here, and end of my interest in this subject. Sorry, been there before, been there too often, not going to wash. And that's where the media also has to say, wait a minute, it's a stuck record. You've been doing this time and time again, and this time we're not going to walk away from it.
I here you have NASA with satellites, with telemetry, sensor data, video. They've got a frigging space station, right, orbiting the Earth, and Scott Kelly is part of this team. What is he seeing? But you would have thought that Bill Nelson, in making this announcement, the administrator of NASA, of course, that Bill Nelson would have said, look, they can look at all the unclassified stuff that we can provide for them, that is out there in the public. But we're also going to show them what we have collected over the years.
Exactly.
And they're not. That doesn't matter. Out of any agency, and that includes the Air Force, and that includes the Navy and the Pentagon and the branches of the military, NASA collects this data. It's their job.
But lest we forget, it's almost like, who is NASA's biggest commercial / government sponsor? The Pentagon. You'll remember, as far as with the shuttle program, how often the Pentagon would contract a launch and it would be top secret. We wouldn't know what the payload was. We never had any idea what they were depositing as far as to orbit around the planet, their own spy satellites and what have you. But the point being, NASA's not going to bite the hand that feeds them. So they're going to fully cooperate with the Pentagon because they don't want to lose their business. It's that simple.
Why, with NASA's reputation and, the pop culture version of their reputation, that this is an opportunity to show that the rumors are wrong, the conspiracy theorists are wrong, that we are now going to look at our data, our classified stuff that we haven't shown to the public, and we're gonna allow this team to assess this information. Isn't this an opportunity for NASA?
It should be. But let's also remember that during the Carter administration, for example, and he was honoring a campaign promise that he had made that he was going to disclose UFO information provided it did not threaten national security. Well, he tossed it over to NASA at that time, and they immediately, just brushed it off. Sorry, we're not interested. Well, he could have made it an executive order. He failed to do that. He could have told them, you're going to do this whether you like it or not. So a changing of the guard, or why is NASA now cooperating with the Pentagon when they wouldn't do it before? We have to keep asking why now, Jimmy. It's not as though we've had another crash, or we've had some mass sighting that just cannot be explained away, or there is physical evidence that's going to be released. And you made the very good point with Roy earlier about it's being ahead of the picture. It's and anticipating something that may be forthcoming. There's something else going on here, and I don't know personally. I don't know if it's a diversion for something else that's about to go down. I don't know if it has something to do with Space Force, but what I am still most dismayed about is the fact that they have limited the search within only the last 20 years. That even with the report from June of last year, that they only acknowledged the phenomenon back to 2004, as though nothing has happened for 60 years before that. And for those of us who pride ourselves on being historians of the subject, we realize that the best cases were in the past, because there was very little clutter up in the sky at that time. There weren't spy satellites. There weren't drones. I mean, when people were seeing things, and especially back in 1947, it wasn't Russian, and it certainly wasn't Chinese.
Right.
And as a result, I think that's why they are focusing strictly on the last 20 years, that this remains a fallback, that Russia, that China, that United States remains a total fallback in all this. But if you go back to 47, no way. All bets are off, because then we clearly were dealing with someone else's technology, and it wasn't from here.
In the report last summer, I wasn't as disappointed as many were. Right?
No, I wasn't either. It was expected. I
was not disappointed, but if you read between the lines there, where the report stated that we can definitively say it's not adversarial, it's not Russia, it's not Chinese, and it's not us. Well, wait a minute. Okay, all right. So then they said, so we've got this other bin.
That was the word. Other.
Yeah, the other bin, and we're gonna put everything in there. I feel that they're gonna unpack that and reverse direction. That was a little bit too revealing, and that they're gonna start putting labels on this that are going to be terrestrial.
And Jimmy, you hit the nail on the head. It's exactly what they did back in 1947. It's the old you build up the straw man and then you tear it down.
Right.
Which is exactly what they did with Roswell. I mean, my God, they put historically, you cannot deny the fact that the United States Army Air Corps back in July of 1947 claimed they had captured a flying saucer, and 5 hours later, it's just a weather balloon device. We may be witnessing the exact same thing. They dangle the carrot, and then they reel it back. And they come up with an explanation that the public breathed a sigh of relief, and thank God, now we can get on to World War III, so to speak. And we don't have to worry about an invasion from outer space.
And then it was crash test dummies.
Right.
And then it was, but it was always a terrestrial explanation.
Exactly. And it's no different that when we had the congressional hearings in Washington. And I immediately said before the opening salvo that the Pentagon never sends anyone up the Capitol Hill who can accidentally tell the truth. And it's because we had experienced that even working with the late Congressman Stephen Schiff for all of his efforts to try to pry any information loose regarding the 1947 incident. And it was followed by the White House, by the Pentagon. Secretary of Defense Les Aspin wouldn't even respond to his letters of inquiry because it was all a case of if we don't acknowledge any semblance of the truth, you can't accuse us of lying because we're just not going to be transparent enough to admit anything. And we essentially put out government stooges, and they can't slip and accidentally, say a word of truth.
So Bray and Moultrie, stooges. That's a really, really brilliant point, Don. You can't put somebody out there that knows something.
Right.
You can't do it.
And the best example was with the Project Mogul report. When the Pentagon had that press conference in September of 1994, and Colonel Richard Weaver, they came out and they admitted we lied about the Roswell incident, the balloon explanation, but we have a new theory. Well, who was assigned to come up with that new theory? At the time, Captain James McAndrew, who was in the reserves. He's not even active. And he's a lowly captain, a low-ranking officer. And he researches and he comes up with this third explanation of Roswell. He becomes an expert on Project Mogul, unlike anyone else. But he knows absolutely nothing else about the actual event. He can't slip. He can't ever admit something that is anything close, anything that resembles the truth. So it's standard military procedure. Never put anyone out in front of the media who knows anything about what they're going to make inquiries of.
Yeah, if he knew just a little bit, then he would have known that he was off by 5 years.
Yeah. Our late dear friend, Colonel/Dr. Jesse Marcel Jr., whose father was the intelligence officer of the 509 Bomb Wing, the first atomic bomb squadron in the world at that time, who had handled the wreckage. His son told us, Jesse Jr. described how McAndrew was calling him up a half a dozen times, screaming at him, as Jesse put it, "What's it going to take for you to believe that this was nothing more than a balloon?" Because his reputation was at stake. And when Jesse always told him, "I don't care what you think it was, I know what it was, and it wasn't from here." Big difference.
And we're going to continue this discussion after the break, everybody. Because I think this is, we'll continue, but I think this is probably the most important point besides the press release from Hout. Okay, aside from that, we'll put that aside. But we are talking about Roswell. We're talking about New Mexico. At that point in time on planet Earth, that was the smartest state, the smartest piece of land in the known universe. Our smartest of the smart, the highest security clearances. It didn't matter. Our brightest and best was in the state of New Mexico and then stationed at Roswell Army Airfield. Period. Nobody there is going to mistake a weather balloon for something else. I don't care what the something else is, but they're not going to make that mistake. Everybody knew what was going on, Don.
Exactly. First time and only time in history that a weather balloon was misidentified as a craft from another planet. So
it makes you want to. Who did we really have stationed there? Were they really that smart? So anyway, let's take our break right here. Oh, my co-host tonight is Don Schmitt. Don, you stay right there. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. It is a perfect night here on the show. I want to thank Roy Thinnis for coming in tonight. 10 days after he got the green light on his cancer, and he was with us tonight on Fade to Black. Thank you so much, Roy. More with Don Schmitt when we come back after this break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
I'll be the host and MC once again this year for the 2023 Conscious Life Expo, February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This is a 4-day live event featuring hundreds of speakers, exhibitors, and not-to-miss special events. Check this out. Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Deborah King, Daniel Sheehan, George Norrie, David Wolf, Sean Stone, Danny Brinkley, Susan Slaughter, the Leo King, David Palmer, Scott Walter, and another 200 inspirational speakers. Special events include a disclosure lunch with me, Expo's Got Talent, hosted by me, a seance with Susan Slaughter, the George Norrie Forum, and the Leo King is going to DJ at a dance party. Over 200 exhibitors, over 200 speakers. It's the biggest event of the year. Tickets are on sale now at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. For everything you need, info, tickets, schedule, and speakers, please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can right now get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm Neil's Jimmy Church, going into overtime with my co-host Don Schmitt. And here's the deal. This is the good news, everybody. Don has overnighted me a package of his new Schmitt.
I know where you're going.
I'm going to get some Schmitt on my head, and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to. Yeah,
it's great to have hair. I like. I was at a sci-fi con. I was at Dragon Con, which is I think the second biggest.
That's a big one.
Sci-fi.
Yeah,
and I mean the people. That's one of the things that not only Roswell but UFOs has afforded me through the years, because I have met so many people, as far as from all quarters and other countries, politicians, entertainers, actors, and so on. And Roy certainly at the top of all that. But one year at Dragon Con, I learned that I was being called the Hare.
Don.
The Hare.
Okay, so check this out, everybody. Don and I we're at Contact in the Desert, and
Yes,
it's 135 degrees.
Oh, it was god awful.
And
outside.
Everybody is sunburnt, dying of thirst, sweating, walking around, and with sand in their teeth. And and Don and I are sitting there, and I look over, and Don is sitting there in a suit, tie, hair perfect, not a bead of sweat, nothing is affecting him. And I'm looking at him like, Don, how can you do this? And we sat there, Don, we talked for 3 hours in the sun.
Yes,
and you never broke a sweat. Your hair never moved.
And it's real. It's mine. That's mine. Just as yours are.
So, okay, let's get back to this, though.
Quickly, I need to point out, Roy called during the break.
Okay.
And he had a great time.
Oh,
he wanted to know how he did. And he said, I'm still not feeling 100%. I mean, he's come off of, really something that we only applaud him for the good news that he's just received.
Incredible.
But he'd like to do it again. So
I cannot wait. And he's right down the road, man. I'm going to go hang out there.
His health is only improving, as he described. He's gone from a wheelchair to a walker, and he's looking for. I mean, he's going to be right back to fighting for him. David Vincent all over again.
How crazy is it that half of his family was in the chat room tonight?
I know. And Chicago, and that unbelievable. But we've all seen that in our travels. You run. I was on my way back to LAX on one occasion, and I had time to spare, so I stopped at the Denny's on Century Boulevard just to grab a quick sandwich. And I run into 3 couples who I know from here in my hometown that were headed to Hawaii to go on a cruise. I mean, again, what are the chances? But that's our lives.
Yeah.
Never dumb.
I love how life works that way.
Yes.
Here's the thing. I want to get back to the press release, but before I do, I'm just going to share this. So I go to Egypt, right? And we've got 70 people from around the world that have come together that are a part of this tour. Right?
I envy you tremendously.
It was great, but check this out. So I'm meeting everybody and we're talking, and this couple, Romeo and Amy, right? We're sitting there talking. I was like, so where are you guys from? Palmdale. I said, what? Palmdale. Do you know where that is? I said, that's where I live.
That's where you live, right?
And they thought I was messing with them, right? And so I said, yeah, well, and they said, are you real? I said, no, I'm not from Palmdale. I'm just kidding. Oh, okay. No, it turns out they're my neighbors. And it's like, what are the odds of this?
Yeah.
So,
7 billion people, and right.
Yeah. So I went to Amy's shop, right, a couple of days ago. I hope she's listening right now. This is great. So I walk in, and the employees and stuff. I said, so where's Amy? Oh, she'll be in later on tonight. I said, oh, okay. They said, can we help you with something? I said, you know what? Come here. Do you have your phone? And she goes, I do. I said, okay, we're going to take a selfie. And then later on tonight, you're going to show it to Amy. And I'm just going to leave that right there. So we take the selfie, right? Take the selfie. And so I know some dude stopped by this store today and wanted me to take this selfie, right? But what are the odds? It's such a small world, man.
And you have to still surprise her by just showing up at her shop. And
we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. Okay, so now I want to get back to the memo and the reason why, the press release, I should say. And I keep adjusting my glasses because my headphones tilt it, and then when they tilt it, it blocks your hair. And I need to be able to see your hair, Don. So that's what I'm doing. I'm adjusting. There you go. Is that I can't emphasize enough that the brain power, the brain trust of planet Earth was there in New Mexico.
Yes.
And Los Alamos, Sandia, White Sand,
Trinity Site,
the Trinity Site, the nuclear secrets,
first atomic bomb.
All of that was New Mexico. So, and central to all of that is Roswell Army Airfield, the 509th, the nuclear bomb wing, and everything that's. And so, if you are going to have a press release come out of the Roswell Army Airfield, you can bet your bottom dollar that every word, every period, every comma is poured over and approved. This is not an accident.
Not an accident. It wasn't. And I'm amazed at how many of my colleagues still think it was an accident, that they jumped the gun, that they overreacted. Again, read the timeline, read the books, read the press accounts. The point being that when the wreckage first arrived in Roswell was Sunday afternoon, July 6th. The very base commander, who was to have been number 2 pilot for the second atomic bomb over Japan on Boxcar, that B-29. And the reason he was pulled off that flight was because they had much bigger plans for Colonel William Blanchard. He would go on to become a 4-star general by the age of 50. Mm-hmm. That's almost unheard of. And so they saved him from a highly dangerous mission. They kept him stateside. Okay, fine. So he's the base commander. He calls up his boss when he's alerted to this strange debris field, all this wreckage out 75 miles northwest of town. His boss isn't available. It's his chief of staff, Colonel Thomas DuBose, who contacts the Pentagon. And within an hour, the deputy commander of SAC, of Strategic Air Command, General Clements McMullen, calls up DuBose at 8th Air Force in Fort Worth and orders him to have Blanchard put some of that wreckage on a flight, transit through Fort Worth, the base commander there, Colonel Al Clark, to bring it personally to the Pentagon in Washington. The point being that Washington already has wreckage in hand by late Sunday evening. When does the press release go out? At noon on July 8th. 2 days later.
2 days later.
Where's the knee-jerk reaction? Where's the overreaction here when Washington already is involved? They're already calling the shots. End of argument, end of debate. And you are absolutely correct, Jimmy. Every word in that press release, they don't say the name of the rancher. They don't mention the location. And the only person that is even named in the press release is Major Jesse Marcel. And he's conveniently on his way to higher headquarters, as it states. Well, he's going to the press conference arranged by Colonel Blanchard's boss, General Roger Ramey, head of the 8th Air Force, where they substitute the weather balloon. And Marcel was ordered to pose with the substituted balloon wreckage. And it works. The old switcheroo. They admitted the truth, but then they slowly tear it down. The evolution as the press release went out and the timeline, the bulletins that were going out between Washington and Associated Press and Reuters, you see the slow evolution from the flying saucer into the weather balloon. So in 5 hours, it's accepted as nothing more than a weather balloon device, something a 5-year-old child would have recognized. But we're still asked to this day to believe that the people who were in charge of the atomic bomb couldn't recognize reflective foil, wooden sticks, string, neoprene rubber, and masking tape.
Every reporter in the country was on their way to New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And we were perhaps hours away from this becoming the absolute biggest story in the history of mankind. And
or at least the millennium, at least for the
right. And then when the about face was announced, oh, it's just a weather balloon. The flood of report never arrived in New Mexico, never followed up on anything. They turned around and went home and followed the instruction. Nothing to see here, right? Yes. And the story was effectively squashed. How close were we? We were just a few hours away, weren't we?
We were. And the fact that the press, which was one of the things that medicated necessitated the reason for the press release, was because the press already had been tipped off that when the rancher came into town, he spoke to a reporter by the name of Frank Joyce at KGFL radio station and told him about the wreckage, told him it wasn't from here, and also told him about bodies. So it was ready to become, as you describe it, one of the biggest stories of all time. And the fact that they had to shut down the media, the fact that they had to deprive the Roswell and New Mexican media, deprive them of the First Amendment, freedom of speech rights. They were threatened with loss of their licenses by the FCC. The FBI intercepted teletype messages that tried to come out of New Mexico. Everything they did impeded as far as the story coming out, getting out beyond the state lines, and it worked. But it's only because they had time to put the cover story together. to then anticipate what the press, what the witnesses would do, and be there to immediately squelch it. And it worked. And I think the main reason it worked, Jimmy, was the fact that this is just post-World War II. And the military walked on water at that time. They were all international heroes. And whatever the military, they were afforded that much latitude that they could make such an outlandish mistake, that a flying saucer could easily become nothing more than a weather balloon with a radar reflector kite. And the people accepted it. But sadly, the press also did. And that's where...
And it worked.
It could have truly escalated into something beyond the government's control.
And here's the thing: we had Roy Thinnis on the show tonight, and the series The Invaders, released in 1967, 20 years after Roswell.
Correct.
When that series was made, nobody heard of Roswell. No. Kenneth Arnold, who was on every radio show, every TV show from his sighting in 1947 all the way up to his death. Correct. He never mentioned Roswell.
No.
He never mentioned Roswell one time. You would think that if it wasn't squashed, that Kenneth Arnold would have said a million times over, I had my sighting, right? I saw those 9 objects. And then right after that, Roswell, and the site there's something going on here. No, that never happened.
No, it was so effectively neutralized. It was explained away. It was accepted by the media, and it was never touched again. And one of the reasons, I would suggest the primary reason, that it became off limits, that it was a taboo subject. General Roger Ramey, for example, his chief of staff, Colonel DuBose, who was involved up to his eyeballs, even in his sworn affidavit where he stated the balloon was a hoax. And they were the ones who had switched. They had substituted the balloon before the press was allowed in for the actual material. The point being, Ramey told DuBose, I don't want you ever bringing this up again. That was the same tactic that was used at Roswell when they debriefed all the personnel who were involved in the cleanup, in the recovery operation. Each and every one of them was sworn to secrecy, and each and every one of them was told, and you will not discuss this with anyone outside of this base, nor on this base. It never happened. And again, that's how the military functions.
The 1952 press conference, right? The UFO flap?
Yes, after the Washington overflights, correct.
No mention of Roswell then.
General, as far as John Sanford, yes, no mention. And no mention of us being in possession of any physical evidence. But we both remember the letter to General George Sjogren that General Nathan Twining, the head of Air Material Command, in September of 1947, where it was stated that the phenomenon was real and not visionary or fictitious. And it went on to describe the flight characteristics and the shapes and the size of this newly arrived phenomenon. Who prepared that statement? Engineers, propulsion, engine, as far as experts, people who were nuts and bolts, hardware individuals. They are the ones who prepared that as though they were the go-to people regarding what was going on in the skies at that time. It wasn't just General Twining making some educated guess as to what was happening. No, the very people who made that pronouncement would have been the exact people who would have been involved with recovered hardware from an actual UFO crash.
Do you remember this to me is remarkable. You know, the 1955-56 documentary UFO, yes. Which and that documentary, which they had footage, real UFO, you know, and they it was part of the trailer, and then you had to watch the movie. At the end of the movie, the 1952 press conference is featured in there. They did a reenactment of the UFO flap over the Capitol. They recreated allegedly from actual transcription of the conversation from the radar operators. Right, this was the definitive documentary on UFOs. Had every case, talked about Kenneth Arnold. Everything is in there except Roswell.
And in fact, at the National Archives, with the declassified Project Blue Book files, there's one lone newspaper clipping referencing what at the time was one of the biggest announcements in the history of the world, and the fact that it's reduced down to a mere clipping.
Yes.
And I would then use the example of even the Manhattan Project. How many people were talking about it for decades thereafter? I mean, we had...
Well, the answer is zero.
Zero. And yet we had 2 cities totally destroyed, by the actual effect of the bombs, but yet they still couldn't talk about it.
No, 250,000 people employed in the Manhattan Project. 250,000.
And even their spouses had no idea. Right. So secrets can be kept. I'm sorry. Yes. I keep hearing that. Oh, no, everything leaks out. Well, then let's take it a step further. It's been leaking out for 75 years. The problem is people aren't listening. The press still, that's some of that UFO buffoonery, that type of thing. And you're talking about a crashed UFO? Oh, that's even more ridiculous.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, around December 1st. Oh, today is November 1st, is going to be the reveal of the new B-21 bomber, right? Mm-hmm. Right down the street from my home.
Right. The Boeing plant, right.
Northrop, Skunk Works.
Yes.
Skunk Works. Have you seen a leaked photo of it? Nope.
Of course.
Anybody talking about it? Nope.
In fact, if you speak to anyone in the know, they will tell you that typically at the time that something is actually unveiled, it's been out for most likely 20 years. I mean, the best example would be the Flying Blackbird, the SR-71.
Mm-hmm.
It was conceived and developed in the late 50s. And, it became our super spy plane. And even when it was supposedly put out to, out the pasture, they still wouldn't release any data as to its actual flight characteristics and its flight details and its supersonic speed or anything. It was still classified.
And they built it in Burbank. Yeah, they built it in Burbank, man.
Yeah.
They built it in Burbank.
In the heart of the city.
Do nothing, right?
So again, secrets can be kept. We have too many examples. And so the biggest obstacle that my colleagues, my partner Tom Carey, before that Kevin Randall, and our good dear friend, the late Stanton Friedman, the biggest problem that we have all had is that we can't produce a piece of physical evidence. But there have been convictions as far as involving capital punishment where bodies have not been recovered. There have been many historic events where one could not produce a relic, an artifact, but yet it's documented. Because that's what history is made up of. Eyewitness testimony. And if we want to throw out Roswell, we have to throw out all historic accounts.
Mm-hmm.
We have to then say that no historic testimonies are accurate or reliable. And then if we're talking about deathbed testimonies, for which with Roswell, we have over 24,
mm-hmm.
down to a man and woman, they all describe the unearthly characteristics of the wreckage, the non-human bodies. No one on their deathbed, and I can say this to your audience, Jimmy, not a single person on their deathbed has claimed this was a weather balloon or anything else conventional. And as we both know, deathbeds are admissible. They're accepted as physical evidence in a court of law for a reason, because there again, history has demonstrated that people just do not lie on their deathbeds. It isn't, honey, let me tell you one last whopper yet before I go. No.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, but we're at the end of the show, but I just want to emphasize your point. There are countless people on death row right now because of eyewitness testimony.
Yes.
So it's good enough, right, to give somebody the death penalty, right? But we're going to dismiss the UFO subject when it comes to eyewitnesses? No.
Can't have it both ways.
You can't have it both ways.
Can't have it both ways. Double standard, and we will not accept that. No.
Don Schmitt, thank you for everything, man, and thank you tonight for introducing me to Roy Thinnes. It was just an incredible.
I hope you get to meet. I'm happy to hear that you're neighbors, and it'd be nice to have him back on, and maybe at some point, right in the studio. So
he said next time, Jimmy, we're going to do this TV style. So. Yeah, we're going to do this on camera. Don, thank you so much, my friend. Behave and be well, okay?
Same to you, Jimmy.
Take care of that hair. Take care of that hair.
You as well. Thank you. Good night.
Don Schmitt, thank you so much, Don. The absolute very best. I've got to get straight to the credits before I am kicked off the network. What a great show tonight. Thank you, everybody. Again, a very special night for me personally. And I want to certainly thank Don Schmitt for putting all of this together. Perfect night on the show. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitello, Mark T. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, right here, Elizabeth Hoekstra. We're going to talk about grounding. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.